It is not only the decision you make that counts, but that you make it at the right moment. Anything that threatens the peace and safety of Britain can come under your jurisdiction. Narraway had not added, God help you, though he might as well have. Then a dry humour had softened his eyes for a moment. Pitt had seen a flicker of compassion there for the burden that lay ahead, and also a hint of envy, regret for the excitement lost, the pounding of the blood and the fire of the mind that Narraway was being forced to give up. Of course, Pitt had seen him since then, but only briefly. There had been social events here and there, conversations that were polite, but devoid of meaning beyond the courtesies. The questions as to how each of them was learning to bend, to adapt, and alter his stride to a new role remained unspoken. Pitt sat down again at his desk and turned his attention to the papers in front of him. There was a brief knock on the door. "Come in," he said. The door opened at once, and Stoker entered. Thanks to the events in Ireland, he was the one man in the branch that Pitt knew for certain he could trust. "Yes," he said as Stoker came to stand in front of Pitt's desk. He looked worried and uncomfortable, his lean face more expressive than usual. "Got a report in from Hutchins in Dover, sir. Seen 1 or 2 unusual people coming over on the ferry. Troublemakers. Not the usual sort of political talkers. More like the ones who really do things. He's pretty sure at least one of them was involved in the murder of the French Prime Minister the year before last." Pitt felt a knot tighten in his stomach. No wonder Stoker looked so worried. "Tell him to do all he can to be absolutely sure of their identities," he replied. "Send Barker down as well. Watch the trains. We need to know if any of them come up to London, and who they contact if they do." "It may be nothing," Stoker said without conviction. "Hutchins is a bit jumpy." Pitt drew in his breath to say that it was Hutchins' job to be overcautious, then changed his mind. Stoker knew that as well as he did. "Still, we should keep our eyes open. We've enough men in Dover to do that, with Barker." "Yes, sir." "Thank you." Stoker turned and left. Pitt sat without moving for a moment or two. If it really was one of the French Prime Minister's assassins, would the French police or Secret Service get in touch with him? Would they want his help, or prefer to deal with the man themselves? They might hope to get information about other anarchists from him, or, on the other hand, they might simply contrive for him to meet with an accident, so the whole matter would never reach the public eye. If the latter were the case, it would be better if the British Special Branch pretended not to be aware of the situation. Pitt would have to make the decision about whether to involve the Special Branch, and to what extent, later, when he had more information. It was the type of decision Narraway had referred to, a grey area fraught with moral difficulties. Pitt bent back to the papers he had been reading. There was a reception that evening. 100 or so people of social and political importance would be gathered, ostensibly to hear the latest violin prodigy playing a selection of chamber pieces. In truth, it would be a room full of people attempting to observe and manipulate any shifts in political power, and to subtly exchange information that could not be passed in the more rigid settings of an office. Pitt walked through the front door of his house in Keppel Street just after 7 o'clock, with plenty of time to get ready for the reception. He found himself smiling at the immediate warmth, a relief after the bitter wind outside. The familiar smells of baked bread and clean cotton drifted from the kitchen at the far end of the passage. Charlotte would be upstairs dressing. She was not used to being back in the glamour and rivalry of high society into which she had been born. She had found it shallow when she was younger, and then, after marrying Pitt, it had been out of her reach. Now he knew, although she had never once said so, that at times she had missed the colour and wit of it all, however superficial it was. Minnie Maud was in the kitchen preparing Welsh rarebit for him, in case the refreshments at the event were meagre.